ladies and gentlemen. Peace and blessing to the world. Welcome to the Sir Squeeze Rag Show. Today is July 1st, 2020, and we're here in the Boogie Down Bronx. We're still dealing with the COVID, and while the protests for Black Lives Matter had somewhat slowed down, there seems to be an energy behind Black Lives Matter that doesn't represent what its true cause set out to be. Now, some of you probably have been wondering why you haven't heard anything from us here at Sorigo, but we have already stated what we believe were the core issues. And if you look at what's happening now with the COVID, there still hasn't been coming together of all those who this disease affects, the leaders of these places. And I would think that if we were really serious about solving this problem, or at least attempting to solve it, we would collectively get together with everyone who it has affected and see what they're doing and steps that they're taking, what has worked, what are not working. At the onset, we heard a lot about incubators, and come to find out, most folks who went on the incubator did not make it. When this thing started out, it started out not in the inner city, but the inner city now has the most people affected by it. So you need to ask yourself this question. If we are really serious about finding the solution to this problem, why aren't we talking to each other? No matter what the ills we have, why aren't we doing that? And black folks has been in peril in this country, and the United States is what, 200 and something years old, but prior to that there have been problems, and this problem has been addressed by leaders before, and some of the leaders have walked away from it. We had a black president, might I remind you, but the issue of the inequalities that's taking place within the communities where you find folks of the darkest skin of the rainbow, and now folks are responding to police brutality. But I ask this question, what about the mother who lost her son to gang violence or black and black crime? How many people are subjected to this, and why aren't we talking about this? So I question who is the leader for Black Lives Matter, why we haven't seen one particular individual come out and say, well, I represent this organization and this is what we stand for and this is what we want, instead of all other folks who have wants or needs or gripes taking, their place on the line with Black Lives Matter. I believe that if we look at the core issue, a black and white issue, we're going to get into this later on down the line, but as it stands now, we need to start focusing on individuals as people, human beings. And it's not about us really, it's about the next generations. And those who are in power, your children will inherit a certain privilege. And I'm going to ask them, what are they planning to do about those who were not in the same position as them? Well, ladies and gentlemen, life goes on, and I have within my sphere of company today a good friend of mine, and I call him a good friend of mine. He's a Vietnam vet. He's very outspoken, but I believe he tells pure truth. He holds nothing back, and I think you will enjoy our conversation. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to bring you Mr. Richard N. Wilson, also known as Baby G. Baby G is not only a Vietnam vet, he's also an actor's coach. And he has a couple shows on YouTube. The Pardon is one of them, so you could check out The Pardon on YouTube. And the main one that I really feel is the one on suicide. Welcome to the show.
Hey, my little brother.
Thank you. Thank you for coming on board, man.
Not a problem.
How you doing?
Good, good. I feel good now.
So how you dealing with this situation with the COVID now?
I'm actually doing very well. I don't have any of the basic fears that everybody has. I wear the mask when I have to. You know, I wash my hands and all that stuff. But that doesn't detract from what the real issues are about what's happening around me.
Right.
There's a lot of things happening around us. And things are hard back then.
Right.
You know, when I met you, things were hard then. But now it's complicated.
That's right.
Here we are sitting outside videotaping this interview.
Normally we would be in the studio.
Yeah.
Right.
So we do what we have to do, but the message has to come out.
That's right.
So I don't know what the message is. There are so many messages.
Well, let me ask you, what was the most difficult experience you had throughout the process with this COVID thus far?
Well, I guess detachment. We all have to detach from people. It's like, you know, we're not accustomed to detaching, you know. And I'm a people person. You know, I like to engage with people. I like to pick their brains and find out who they are and what they're all about.
Is that part of being an actor's coach?
An actor coach, yeah. Well, I'm a lot of other things too, but you know, I decided a decade ago that I was going to make a film. And before I did that, I had to be an actor. And if I'm going to be a director, I have to know how to act.
Right.
You know, I have to be on the other side of the camera.
Right.
And there's a lot of resource in networking and practice and experience, and it was they were all good. But detaching from people, it makes it hard in this business. In media, it's hard.
When did you have any appointments with the VA during this time so far?
Did I have an appointment?
Appointments with the VA, because the VA canceled some of my appointments.
Yeah, the VA, that's a book. It's a rescheduling process, and then it's when I got there, it's they're closed, so to speak. And the doctors and the nurses don't exactly know how to approach the bureaucracy that they have in their hands and then apply it to the veterans, which is something they never did anyway.
Right. You're familiar with that.
Yeah. So I did get my CAT scan, and fortunately everything was good, but that took almost 3 months of rescheduling. Which is fine, you know, 3 months, a year, I don't care. You know.
As long as you get it.
Yeah, I got it. So it gave me some peace of mind, but the relevant issue is today. What's today? I could be dead tomorrow.
Right. We all could be.
Yeah.
Lady G, we all could be dead tomorrow.
Well, I believe in one day at a time, so.
That's the best.
So that way my perceptions just focus on today. You know, I brought my friend Craig, you know. And he's today. He's right now.
He's there for you.
He's there.
He's there for you.
And then now I'm with you, and then I'm with Alan. Right. So now the focus is what's the message.
Absolutely. Now let me ask you this. I know that you had some issues with the VA pertaining to your teeth. How is that going?
Well, that is totally unresolved, and it makes me angry. I have to think about it. Right now I'm in a very good mellow mood, but the idea that you know, I had cancer and then they took my teeth out, they convinced me that I would get implants. And with the idea of having implants, then I felt comfortable with letting them do it. And then I moved to another VA location, and the VA obviously, they have different policies. Me thinking, well, it's the same policy.
The same VA,
it's not.
Right.
It's not. Every VA has a different policy. So they took out my teeth, and the cancer was no problem. But trying to live without teeth has become a nightmare. I mean, if you look at me before cancer, I'm 10 years younger. And then after cancer, I aged very quickly. And my energy level is not where it's like. Right now I'd be screaming at the camera, but that's not true because I got mellowed out before I got here, so.
But it's a good thing that. Right? What did you say?
Absolutely. Yep.
But listen, you have any? What plans do you have in as so far as your acting coach business that you're trying to put together? What are some of the plans you have?
Well, I'm kind of optimistic right now because when it first started, obviously we were in a holding pattern, and I'm able to now. People are coming out, and I'm able to get my cast back together again.
Okay.
And we had an improv class yesterday, and it was great. We had a lot of fun. We were able to socialize with each other. At the same time, we were able to get some work done. So I'm hoping that they will inspire me to write a script using the people that I have, because the rich way is you hire somebody to cast, and the producer puts all the people together, and you just pay them, and then you do the directing. So now I have to do all of it.
Okay.
So one less problem is I've got 6 people who are going to do a movie.
Okay. So when we come back, we'll talk about the movie, what they're going to be doing. So ladies and gentlemen, just stay tuned with us. We'll be right back with Baby G.
I wear a mask for my fellow New Yorkers.
My mama, who's a healthcare worker.
Nurses and doctors.
For my father.
For the marginalized communities who don't have access to adequate healthcare.
For my children.
My community.
Essential workers.
Transit workers.
The immunocompromised.
I wear a mask so we can get back to work.
Go to school. Share a meal. See a movie.
Hug my friends.
Dance together. Go to the theater.
See our families.
Continue to show support.
Take care of each other. Save lives.
Stay strong.
I love New York. We love New York.
We've been stuck inside our homes
while our everyday heroes have been working overtime
For New York to reopen
and stay open.
We all need to do our part.
And show that we care.
Look, man.
I wear a mask to protect you.
You wear a mask to protect me.
Let's all wear a mask
To stop the spread of coronavirus.
and save lives.
When we show up in the mask,
We're showing up for each other.
Show your love for New York.
because New York loves you.
I'll start. Hey, baby. What did he say? Is it your liver? Honey, what? Tell me. Damn it, Will. Tell me. What does this mean? Honey, this is your life insurance policy. What does this mean? Well, what are you trying to say? What did the doctor say?
I have cancer.
What kind?
Pancreas.
No. Really? No. No, Will. You are not going to die.
So we're back with Baby G. We're going to see if we could find out what projects he has coming up. And also we're going to ask Baby G to share with us some of the links to some of the projects that he has worked on YouTube. And I'm hoping that he may be able to give some insight into how we feel about what's going on right now. So what project you say you have coming up that you're working on?
Well, we're like I said before, that I've been in the process of assessing my actors. I don't have a crew yet, but I have the actors. So once I have the actors and I know they're solid, that they're going to commit,
Was
time
that
for
part of the improv process that you did?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
I have a very extensive assessment process with the actors, and there's some guidelines that they're not accustomed to.
Okay.
I'm not a Meisner or Strasberg or Adler advocate. That's the old school. Things have changed since the 40s. So if Meisner says one thing in the 40s, it might be a little different now. So I take all the elements and components and try to produce a cast that can have a somewhat simplified process to perform in a movie. And unfortunately, or fortunately, I don't know, they want me to create a gender-based reversal of roles of women taking control over men. So now I have to write a script on that.
So the women be in charge.
The women
in charge already.
Yeah, well, yes. Well, that's another discussion. But in this film, what they want is that women take revenge on the atrocities of men.
Okay.
And the script hasn't been written, but it's going to. It looks like it's going to be very dark.
Well, you know, my friend, I'm glad you have been keeping busy, and I'm glad you haven't allowed this situation to quell your spirit. And as you always say, the universe knows what the universe wants, and the universe does what the universe does. So right now, the universe is, in my view, showing that we need to make some drastic changes. And as a result, you're seeing certain things happening, even in the advent of this problem that we face with the COVID. What are your take on what you see going on out there right now? What probably is the core issue?
I'm a conspiracy theorist. We've talked about that. You know, I can't, you know, I don't know the facts, and we live in a government that do not give you facts, they give you propaganda.
Right.
So I don't know what to believe. We have a man in power now that wants to be king, and I feel unsettled about that. So.
Do you think he's going to get reelected?
What's scary? It's possible.
Isn't it something that you could say after all this, you could still say it's possible?
Oh yeah. I'm afraid to say it. It's possible. The dynamics have to do with the people. If the people are going to continue believing what they believe, then let the chips fall where they may.
Right.
If Trump becomes president, I mean, nobody thought in their wildest imagination that Trump would be president in the first place. So what's scary is how he's going to allow everything to get disrupted, and he wants to be king. How do we deal with that?
What would you say to those who say, well, the alternative is another 8 years or 4 years of the Clinton, Obama, and so forth and so on? Because Biden has been around and in that same sphere of folks for a while. So what would you say to someone who's probably saying, well, it's the same thing, really?
It is. I'm sorry to say it, it is. And I have a fantasy about, I even thought about doing a scene study about a man who says, I'm going to run for president, and I'm going to be the third party, and it's going to be called the Choice Party. The Choice Party. Because historically, since I've been around since the 60s, since John F. Kennedy was assassinated, we really don't have a choice, whether it's Republican or Democrat. I mean, it's got a different polish.
Right.
But it's basically nothing changes. We still live in an environment of hate and distrust and lies and deception. My perception of how it's going to turn out, it's not a pleasant one.
Doesn't look pretty, huh?
Again, I'm a conspiracy theorist. I believe that the people have bleeped me out, have themselves. They themselves. Okay, and the results are going to hurt me, but they're going to hurt our children.
Right, that's the
and
key.
My grandchildren.
That's the key. That's the key. That's the key. I agree with you 100%
Yeah.
on the focus is on self right now. But I believe that if we adjust our lifestyles, those who are in power and those who control that segment of the society, and make the necessary adjustments and stop focusing on the me now, especially now with this advent of the technology that we have, the instant, everything instant, and me, selfie, 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 and it's not going to work. You know, we have to start focusing on the children and the seniors.
And the future.
Because the children are really the future. So what we're setting now, we're giving a roadmap for what these children were going to do with us when we get to that level now. You see what's happening with the seniors? I spoke to a friend of mine the other day in New Jersey. We served in the Navy together, and his father died and because he had the COVID, but he feels that his father didn't die from the COVID. He died because he was brokenhearted. He was a very social guy, and he was at home. His wife also got the COVID too, but she survived it. But how he died was he got sick, they took him out the hospital, put him in the rehab before he come back home. While he's in the rehab, he got the COVID, but then there's no contact with anyone. And when you're used to seeing people all the time coming around you, and you can't even say put a monitor in the room or something so that you could go into a room and they could see your face and they could talk to you. You do that every day or every other day or something like that. So there are ways we could have dealt with that better. But you know, ladies and gentlemen, I want to say to my good friend Baby G, this is a brief interview. This is an introduction to this gentleman here. He has some very powerful material on YouTube, and he had a Facebook, I believe, but they were messing with his stuff on there, so he don't take too much, you know. He's one of them old school Vietnam vets. Baby G, listen, I want you to touch base with me on a couple of the projects, mainly the Pardon and the Suicide piece, and tell me briefly a little bit about it.
Okay, I did two small pieces not too long ago. The first one was a music video that I did. I wrote a song. It's called 22. 22 Men and Women. And basically what it's about, it's a song about Vietnam veterans. It's about all veterans and dealing with the issue of suicide. They're not here to talk about themselves. They're not here to talk about how they got where they got. They're not here. They're not recognized in all the barbecues and parades and, you know, the spare ribs. They're not in that. They're not involved. They're not considered. And some of them are not even given a just due. They committed suicide. That's a whole nother subject in itself. So I wrote a song. It was not the video, it was the backup video, only because I couldn't even find 6 videos to go to Times Square and spend 4 hours with me and film. I couldn't find 6 veterans, so.
You couldn't find 6 veterans?
Actually, it was 12 veterans. 12 veterans, 6 males and 6 females. I couldn't get 12 veterans to come with me, but so I had to do a backup video. My second film was about end of life. It's about the right to die with dignity. And there is no dignity in dying today. And there are a lot of people, if you go on Facebook, there are a lot of groups that support the right to die and with dignity. And can you imagine you have to die so you don't suffer? You want to die because you don't want to suffer? And the government says no? Government says no, you stay here. And I'm not ashamed to say it, but I believe that the proponents of creating the government is based on religious foundation that have misinterpreted the ideal of humanity. And for the government to say, no, you have to sit in that bed for as long as it takes and suffer. So I wrote a short film, very short film, about the experiences of a couple that had to go through this process of not being able to die with dignity, and a man who made a choice I'm not going to suffer.
Right.
And his wife supported him.
Right.
And unfortunately, the ending tells the whole story.
Well, you know, Richard,
I won't tell you the ending.
we're going to direct you, the folks there. I want to thank you for coming on the Sir Speaks Back show and sharing. We're going to have you back to talk more in depth about some of these subject matters that we go, because I already know rich, information, knowledge. Wow. So are we going to show you a link to the pardon and the suicide piece, and I would ask you to please check it out and do the thing that they do. You subscribe and you like, and share your comments if you would like to, whether you agree or disagree with it. We really appreciate it. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for tuning in with us today. And I also want to thank my guest, Baby G, and his friend Greg, who came with him over here to New York for this project. And I'm asking you to check out those 2 pieces we talked to you about and go on his channel on YouTube. But I would like for you to give a good look at The Pardon and the piece on suicide.
22 men and women.
22 men and women. And that's on YouTube, and you'll see the link. I thank you for tuning in, and God bless you. Keep safe, keep strong, and remember, all lives matter.
Now how then I knows that they're even there. One man takes a gun and points it to his head. The blood splatters on the wall, walking dead. 22 men and women standing in Times Square. Lord, and I know that they're even there. Another one sits herself on the cold bathroom floor. She takes out her knife and carves out her life. 22 men and women standing in Times Square. Oh no, and I know that they're even there. The soldier stands with the rifle in his hands. The cops order him to meet their demands. The young boy holds the pills in his hands. There's no one there to say goodbye, to say goodbye. 22 men and women are standing in Times Square. Lord, and I know that they're even there. The eye doesn't see what the eye